I am stressed.
So am I, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about some stress. We were supposed to talk about some providership from the male perspective, and maybe we'll get into that. But
Yeah.
man, what's your stress?
I mean, it's all good things, but like every day of this week, something has gone wrong business wise. And it's just like, holy shit, can we catch a break?
Is it your business or the
Our business, not my job.
not your job? Okay.
Okay, so if you've been listening to this podcast, I started a business back in February, and I'm still working a full-time job. So we need to get to 35 monthly clients for me to leave. Like, that's the target we set.
Mm-hmm.
We're at 23. So we're like getting closer. Like October-ish, I think we'll be there. And that's very exciting. Last week we closed a bunch of deals.
Nice.
So Friday was a high. And then Monday problem, Tuesday problem, Wednesday problem, Thursday
What were the
problems. So it's a staffing agency. People calling in sick. One client wanted a refund because her partner didn't feel good about hiring overseas anymore. You know, another girl no called, no showed. Another girl deleted the owner's entire inbox on accident and then emptied the trash. So we had to like recover all of her emails, which we did. It was fine. But like I had to fire 2 people yesterday.
Ugh.
And all that is happening while at my full-time job, I'm literally every day of this week, I have been scheduled like 9 to 5, back to back, 30-minute and 15-minute meetings, just boom, 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 boom. And I can see on our Slack channel for my agency problems. And I'm like, I literally cannot fucking do anything about this right now. Right. And so like the team is doing their best to solve it. And I'm like, I'm just like fucking silently suffering. I'm like, I am stressed out. I want to help, but I can't. So then
What do you do in those times where you feel that stress? And I know probably you've done enough work that the nervous system isn't freaking out probably too much, I imagine.
I can see it.
But you can sort of forecast that it's gonna happen, or
Yeah.
you can notice it, and you don't have a lot of time to maybe take a step back, do whatever self-care you need to do. So what do you do in those situations?
Breathe.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I'm aware that I'm having a reaction. Like I've done enough meditation and blah, blah, blah to be able to be like, oh shit, I'm like feeling this in my body right now. I don't need to be reactive. Stay focused on what I'm doing right now. And ultimately I can view all problems through a macro lens of like, when problems arise, those are just opportunities to get better. So that's the attitude.
Yeah.
Like plain and simple. It's not a big deal. Everything's going to be fine.
Everything's not a big deal pretty much.
And I always know that when things go wrong from a customer facing perspective, it's always an opportunity to build a deeper relationship, because I've talked about this so many times on this podcast. When something goes wrong, you can build trust with somebody by how you show up in that moment. And taking accountability for your own mistakes and then going above and beyond to show that you're willing to make an effort to do right by the other person, that builds a relationship. So, yesterday had to fire 2 staff members that were serving clients, and got on the phone with both of those clients, and they didn't want to fire them immediately. And I was like, no, these are fireable offenses. You shouldn't feel bad about this. And let me tell you why these are fireable offenses. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, we're going to start a recruitment cycle to find you other team members immediately. You don't need to feel bad about this. Let's move forward. And they're like, thank you. Like, thank you for the call.
Yeah.
I feel like you're my teammate, all these things. And so, that's where good customer service gets to shine. And that goes for yesterday, same day, man, I got fucking obliterated emotionally yesterday. I woke up and like a girl that reports to me at my full-time job, she published in a newsletter, and there was a grammatical error. I called it out to her like 5 times the day prior, and it was literally like there was a comma where there should have been a period. So it was a very minor thing, but I called it out.
But it's the
5
fact
times.
that you had called
I
it out.
called it out, and then I woke up to a long message from her where she was pissed at how I communicated with her. She felt like I belittled her and like I wasn't direct enough with her, and she has a baby. So she was like, just, she like brain dumped on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, girl, you made a fucking mistake. So I just do what I do in those moments, which is like I type my response and I like let it rip, and then I fucking delete it. Right. And then I'm like, out of this fucking vomit that I just wrote, let's delete all the bullshit and keep what is
matters.
constructive.
Yeah.
And, it just boiled down to, I'm like, I understand. I will make a better effort to communicate in this way, especially, during these times. And she's like, thank you. It's just like it's the same way, like pausing, knowing that I'm feeling like I want to fucking lash out or react, and saying, processing that emotion, and then showing up for that other person. Like, we're good. And I bet our working relationship is going to be even better now. So
that pause is like where you don't allow your ego to come in.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an easy thing to do.
Totally.
Have you read, I'm reading it right now or listening to it right now, Extreme Ownership, the Navy SEAL?
I've actually never read the book.
It's good. It's good.
I bet.
It really drove home to me. I mean, the title of the book is Extreme Ownership. I'm like, any situation, like, I don't want to put anything on the other person, basically. Like, I don't want my ego to come in and blame them or get on them or criticize them. I think it's like, how can I just be a better teammate? Because that's what a leader does.
Yeah.
So
it's like this. I had to take another form of extreme ownership like earlier this week with our CEO. Like, he did something and I reacted to it and I fucking lambasted him. I was just like, you fucking did it again.
I wish I could see you, like, because I always get the like calm Buddha,
but
most of the time.
I'm mostly that way.
Right.
I just have like a cutting.
Yeah, I can imagine what it probably is.
And it's through Slack, right? Yeah. And I just like lay into him like, if we want if you want clients to take us seriously, we need to show up like this. If you skip this step, then this is going to happen. And if you want me involved and to take responsibility, this needs to happen. And he's like, that's not what happened. I was just telling you for this so that you could do that. Whatever. I ended up being wrong.
Yeah.
After I had just like fucking reacted. So what do you do in that moment? It's very simple. If you can get your fucking ego out of the way. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, same thing. I understand. I was wrong for, jumping to a conclusion.
Yeah.
That's literally all I said. I was wrong for jumping to a conclusion. Okay, all good. Now we can move on. But like, people love to just like, let me try to move on without saying those words.
Right.
But you can't.
You can't. You got to say the words.
If you don't acknowledge where you went wrong or take responsibility and say those words, you're just putting it under the rug.
Right.
And sure, you may be okay, but that resentment's going to pop up at some point.
Because when you say the words, the other person then knows that you have acknowledged it too.
Totally.
Like, they need to know that you have actually taken accountability.
100%.
And if you never say it, even though maybe in your mind you've taken accountability, that other person, you guys energetically will always be like clashing still, because that person subconscious can be like, well, they never really said it, so
totally.
do I know?
It like takes a level of humility to say you're wrong for something. And again, what we're talking about is building trust.
Yeah.
Like, building trust isn't about always being right. It's about how you show up when you're actually wrong. And because we're all human, we will be wrong at some point. So anyways, I guess all that's to say is like, juggling a lot of balls are dropping, watching my emotions and my stress response and trying to show up as best as I can. And I think I'm doing a pretty decent job. But let me tell you, I'm very excited to sleep in tomorrow, Saturday morning.
How did we have balls drop the same exact week in our project?
What balls are you dropping?
Man, I dropped the balls on the weight of our prototypes.
Mm.
They showed up. I picked up the box. Like the box got delivered here. I picked it up and I'm like, this doesn't feel heavy enough. I'm like, this is not good. Picked it up, opened it up. Sure enough, they look incredible. That's a bonus. So I can still use them for content, photos, videos. Cool. We're good there. But no weight. So I text my partner. I'm like, hey, these don't even weigh what they need to weigh. And we're going back and looking at emails, being like, where did the misstep happen?
Yep.
Like, why are these so light?
Yep.
And of course, my ego wanted to go, this fucking manufacturing guy just dropped the ball,
Totally.
fucked it up,
Yep.
didn't send the right weight. And then I'm looking back at emails and I'm like, because we had discussed what the weight of the first prototype was. And even that was a little unclear as I was looking back at emails. I was like, did he ever really actually state what the weight of the first one was? It was more like, hey, this is what the weight of the new one is going to be based on the old one. What do you guys want to do? And so I took that number, and knowing what the weight of the first one was, I was like, well, we only want it like maybe half or 2/3 of what the other weight was. So let's maybe take like 60% of that weight. So we chopped that number, gave him the 60%, sent it off, comes back, and lo and behold, I go back and look at the numbers, and I'm like, well, shit, I know 150 grams isn't going to weigh 2.5 pounds. Like, I know that. Why did I not even question what that weight was going to be for those prototypes? So,
Was it an assumption?
on my part, yeah, I just was like, oh, that was the weight of the first one. Okay, cool. 60% of that weight. I assume that's going to be good. We're good to go. Not even in my mind, and even my business partner was like, why did I not double check that? Why did I not question what 150 grams was going to weigh? Like, it's not 2.5 pounds. So
It's not 2.5 pounds.
it's definitely not 2.5
So
pounds.
how long did that set you guys back?
Well, since there was some back and forth on getting these prototypes done, I mean, we should have the blessing in disguise of it is we're going to get 2 new colors now, along with the 3 colors that we got. So now we'll have 5 colors to work with as far as content goes. So that's cool. Maybe 2 weeks to get this next set of prototypes, because it's basically ready to go. All we have to say is, hey, add 1,500 grams of metal weight in the base and send off 2 more.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge setback. There is, like I said, there is the blessing in disguise of 2 new colors now.
Yeah.
Which I think will look great in here when I start filming with them. Anyway, coming back full circle, I could have easily gone into a rip into that manufacturer.
Right.
But it was my fault. I didn't double check.
Yeah.
Like, I fucked it up.
And I doubt that you'll make that same mistake again.
Nope, definitely not.
Which, by the way, I think if y'all didn't take accountability and dig into it, you would make that mistake again. If you just assume that it was the manufacturer that is a fucking idiot,
Totally.
then you wouldn't be like, oh shit, I need to actually communicate a layer more specifically next time.
I should have dug. I had, it's twofold my fault. And again, I'm not even blaming Bobby, my partner, but I sort of went hands off and was just like, I'll let Bobby, the designer, handle this. I got a lot going on. It's fine. If he says it's cool, we're good. I should have double checked everything, period. It all rests on me ultimately. Sure, he's my partner, but it's my design. I should have checked it.
That's always an interesting balance to strike. Like, knowing that you're responsible for everything that goes wrong, but then entrusting others to get it right.
Yeah.
And not micromanaging.
And ultimately, in the long run, it's like, what? It sets us back 2 weeks and maybe $1,000.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
At this stage, it's not that big of a deal.
Especially because we need perfect prototypes. Like, I want people handling them in this studio. Like, the ones we got are fine for photos and video because you don't know the weight. Not a big deal. But when people come in here and actually pick it up and feel it, they need to feel the weight.
Something I've been thinking about a lot actually is how to call out mistakes without being a dick.
I'm even trying to do that in my relationship,
Mm.
in my marriage. And not even mistakes, just like pointing something out for consideration. You know, I had to do it this morning.
How do you do that?
Well, I could feel myself getting a little fired up because so Tuesdays and Thursdays, generally Casey has to leave early for work, mainly by like 7. And then usually the other days I'm trying to leave by 7, but there's very particular days where I like really need to leave by 7. Other days it's kind of like, if I leave at 7:30, not a big deal. Yeah, I have to sit in more traffic, whatever. But today, because we had our thing, I'm like, I need to leave by like 6:50. And she gets up, and then Bunny gets up. And so he's like wanting to do stuff with me, and I'm like trying to get everything ready, and she's just like hanging out on the couch, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, because in my mind, I'm like, on days you have to leave early, if the kids are up, like I am handling them because I know you got to get out the door. And I will make even like her smoothie or boil her eggs because I'm like, those are 5 minutes of your time that you could have getting ready. And so when I look at her on the couch today, I'm like, okay, easy, Logan, easy. I just go, I'm like, okay, what's the best way I can say this? And I was like, hey, honey bunny, it would be really nice if on days I have to leave early, that you kind of help out the way I help out with you on days that you have to leave early. And she was like, sure, what do you need me to do? I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah.
What would have been the way to handle that would have caused conflict?
Hey, can I get some help instead of you just sitting over there on the couch?
Yeah. Is that how you wanted to say it at first? That was quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what my ego instinctually wants to think and feel. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Get off the couch. Help me out here.
Yeah.
You know I'm trying to get out the door.
Yeah.
You know? And then it goes one layer deeper of also remembering, like in listening to this book, it's like they speak so much on like you can't assume to know what somebody else is thinking.
Totally.
And she's not sitting there going like, oh, I'm not going to help Logan, or oh, I'm not, or whatever. Bunny's keeping his attention and he can't get stuff. She's thinking about whatever. She could be thinking about shopping for the kids.
Totally.
I don't know.
Totally.
You know? So
yeah. Assumptions are the killer of everything.
Yeah.
Like your email communication debacle, assumption. If you had miscommunicated with Casey this morning, that would have been a debacle born out of assumption. It's just like problem solving and communication. It's like peeling back the layers of assumption, make you better at those two skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just something that I train relentlessly in my teams, especially in communication. I'm a stickler for crystal clear communication.
Yeah.
Because at scale, a 2-week setback costs a fuckload of money, right? If you have like 100 people on payroll and you can't get product out the door, and you're 2 weeks behind now, you just have like 100 people on salary without that revenue coming in, and all because of 2 words in an email. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
how do I refine that skill? And so something that comes up a lot, especially with people lower on the totem pole, is, or maybe even everybody, you not asking questions for fear of looking incompetent can cost a lot of time. And it's a pattern that I'm seeing. That's why I'm thinking about this a lot, which is if you're in a meeting and your boss tells you something and the boss says, you got it? And you're like, yeah, I got it. But you, in fact, don't got it.
right.
So you go and you maybe try to figure it out, and then you do it, but you do it the wrong way. 3 days later, it comes around, it's like, okay, like show me what you got. It's like, what the fuck? That's not what I was talking about. And we just wasted 3 days because you didn't ask a question at the right time. And it's the boss did something wrong, which is don't say, do you got it?
Right.
That's a fucking stupid question. you're setting the person up for just like a lazy head nod.
Mm-hmm.
The right question is, so can you tell me what your action items are?
Right.
Now you need to tell me what you or tell me what you understood the direction to
Or
be.
can you explain to me why this is a good course of action?
Yeah, like I need to ask you a question that allows you the space to demonstrate that you comprehended what I said. And so we have like a copy that, repeat it back, just principle in Slack. If you thumbs up my Slack message, that doesn't mean fucking shit to me. If you hit my Slack message with the eyeball emojis, I'm like, I don't know what
I
the
could
fuck.
see steam coming off of your head when you get emojis in Slack, probably.
No, I love emojis.
Oh, you know?
I love
Well,
emojis.
I mean, in those moments, like those.
Well,
those
I had to do
emojis.
it the other
Yeah.
day. I was like, don't eyeball emoji this. Like, what are you going to do? I was like, copy that, repeat it back. And then she's like, copy that. I'm going to do this. I'm like, do this how? Like, I need to know that you understand what I'm saying because we don't need to deal with an issue. I micromanage communication big time, but it's one of those things where, honestly, I think everybody appreciates it. Like, there are tough love moments where you know that it's making you better, and when it comes to communication, that's right.
Well, I'm also learning that it's not just like, do you understand what the action you have to take is, but then one layer more, do you understand why that action, or do you understand why I want to take that action for the betterment of the company or the business? Like, do they understand why they're getting told to do it that way?
Yes.
Not just how to do it, but the why behind it. Because then they can then it's a matter of belief. Do they buy into it? Do they believe that that's the proper direction for the company? Do they believe in you?
That's
Thus,
awesome.
they believe in themselves to be able to, take those action items.
I 100% agree. Actually, that's why core values are so important. Because if you have, let's say, 5 core values, you can literally point everything back to those 5. Basically, you have 2 ways to make decisions in a company. One are SOPs, standard operating procedures, and the other are core values. You have SOPs for things that are proven processes, like this is the step-by-step guide to fucking do whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's always unique instances. There's always like something that you haven't dealt with before. So how do I know how to deal with it if there isn't a written procedure for it? My core values are my guiding principles. And so that's actually what I do when I call out mistakes, right? You want to call out mistakes immediately. And it's like, this is how this didn't align with this core value. And so you're just like over and over training, like to put the shopping cart back. That means to do the responsible thing, right? And let's say somebody left trash on a desk. It's like, you need to put your trash in the trash can. Okay, fine. You need to put your trash in the trash can because we always put the shopping cart back. And we always put the shopping cart back because the way we do everything,
The way we do one thing.
the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And the little details stack up over time. And that's what separates us from everybody else. It's like, okay, so that trash isn't really a piece of trash. That trash represents this larger thing.
Right.
And that you just start to like embed that. Or, you put a comma instead of a period. It's just a comma. I'm like, no, the details matter because it demonstrates a level of professionalism to the world that they can trust us to think about everything for them.
Right.
Right. And so what you were saying is explaining the why behind everything. And actually explaining the why behind everything opens you up to disagreement. But that's a good thing. Coming back to the trust building in these relationships, like as a leader, you should be open to being wrong.
It also shows a level of vulnerability as a leader to be like, this is why we're doing it. It gives your employees or the people around you a better opportunity to get to know you better too, to understand how your mind works, that then there are fewer assumptions in the future.
And then they get to shock you as well.
Yeah.
Because they may demonstrate one of your values in a way that you're like, oh, I wouldn't have thought to do that. You just took that to another level. That's amazing. And it's because you're giving everybody like an MO to operate by. And then they get to bring it to life for you. And if you have everybody bringing that MO to life, now you're co-creating.
Yeah.
Rather than it's just one person's brain directing orders and everybody else is falling in line.
Right.
Now everybody's bringing those values to life, and when everybody's creating, stuff ends up happening that is just honestly magical.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes, in my opinion, great companies.
Yeah.
But forget companies. That's what makes great families. That's what makes great relationships and great sports teams. I wouldn't say we have defined core values. Like, I don't go this deep in my marriage, but we actually do have a shared note where we have family values written out. And so over time, I guess we're talking about building trust with other people, and it's just having the ability to pause, understand where others are coming from, take responsibility for your actions, and also over time talk to each other about what's important to you, like you did with Casey this morning.
Yeah. I'm working on just always trying to put my shit aside and come from their angle or their side or understanding them better. Now, granted, that's harder in a marriage sometimes, but with everybody else, I'm trying to be better at that. Especially because if I'm really trying to get this training in myself and this muscle working more precisely with me, because I've been lucky in the studio that I haven't had to manage a lot of people here. And if this product and this company goes the way I expect it to go, I'm going to have to start managing people. So I want to get a lot of my shit worked out right now with kind of figuring that out and understanding people better, understanding how to be a better leader. So I'm not like learning on the job when this company goes where I want it to go.
Yes. And I mean, with kids, you have like the craziest practice in the world.
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, for sure, you do get some practice in patience and things like that. But as far as leading a team to a ultimate similar or same goal, it's a little different than kids.
Yeah.
You know, kids, it's like, if I make a mistake or lose some patience or whatever and learn, whatever the next day, fine. I don't want to be making too many mistakes where it's going to cost, instead of say $1,000 on this prototype, it might cost, like what you said, to put you 2 weeks behind, and now all of a sudden it costs you $250,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like fun.
No.
And it's not to say that I'm not so naive to think that there's not going to be some mistakes that happen, of course. But I can do better at learning better leadership skills right now, even though I'm not necessarily leading people.
For sure. I mean, everything's a leadership opportunity. I think that's what extreme ownership is talking about.
It is. Yeah. That's why I started listening to the book.
Yeah.
Casey had downloaded it and I'm like, I need to listen to this. Like,
all right, I guess I'll buy it.
It's good.
Yeah. I've heard.
Plus, there's just great Navy SEAL stories too.
Oh, we actually work with the guy who wrote that book.
Jocko?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He has a Jocko Fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do the marketing for them.
Side note, I've also learned that I can listen to books at 1.4 speed now. So.
Oh my God. God bless you for figuring that out now.
I know.
I would never. Once I discovered speed, I was like, I don't listen to anything on 1X.
Yeah.
Especially myself.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
Yes.
Listening to this fucking podcast, if I have to listen to myself on 1X, I'm like, fucking shoot me.
I actually listened to our podcast on 1X. Yeah, I didn't realize it until this book. So I was like, oh, maybe I can just speed this up so I can just get through it a little faster. And I literally built. I was like 1.1, 1.2.
Yeah.
I'm a little afraid of 1.5, but I might give it a run.
The challenge is when I'm doing interviews, I'll listen to them back. And if I'm interviewing somebody who talks really fast, but I talk fucking slow, and then I speed it up, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't understand that person. And then I come back on and I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
The other challenge is with a book, if I start to like zone off for a little bit, I'm like, shit, I missed like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I
totally.
got to go really far back. That's so funny.
What I was talking about with the kids, though, I think is potentially really interesting. So if I look at a lot of the conflict that me and my dad in particular had from teenage to like late 20s, It was honestly because a lot of my value system kind of evolved from his. Like, it changed. Me and my dad have different values in a lot of ways. We have a lot of the same values too. I kind of went way away from them and I came back in a lot of ways. But my dad, and I suspect yours, never was in the habit of like, maybe he explained, but he never discussed what's important to us and why.
No.
Right. This is, you know, when I tell you that you're not allowed to do this, it's because, you know, this is what's important to me and this is why I think, you know, that's about it. There was never that level of discussion.
No.
So I just kind of lashed out. And so I actually think that family values is, I would apply the same like core values in a business to my family. And I would rope that back to my kids over and over again. But when they become teenagers, actually, they're going to disagree with you way more than an employee ever would disagree with you, right? They're going to tell you you're fucking wrong. Maybe they won't. Hormones are a crazy thing. I've never met a set of parents that
I'll get to find out in about 10 years.
Yeah, you'll get to find out, right? Like, I mean, shit. I was a lunatic.
I was a lunatic too.
I can only imagine.
Sugar and hormones.
Jeez, man. But like, I feel like over time, actually having a set of values that you talk about, you come back to as a family and you discuss, creates the space for hopefully your child to, I have a nephew that's going through puberty right now, and his mom is really good about talking to him. Mm-hmm. His dad is really bad about talking to him. And the way that my nephew acts around his mom versus his dad is completely different. Yeah. He shuts down around his dad.
Yeah.
But when he acts out, his mom is like, help me understand.
Yeah.
And he's not always good at explaining it, but then she'll explain like why she thinks that was wrong and why they should behave differently. So he feels safe around her, mm-hmm. and they're able to talk about things. And I just think that's what we're talking about in action. And I would like to see more dads hold space for their kids like that as well.
I mean, I try to do that with Atlas right now, and he's only 3.5, almost 4.
Yeah.
And I just sort of allow him. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely, I hit a breaking point sometimes. For sure. But yeah, I mean, he even had it yesterday morning, wanted a popsicle before school. And I'm like, you're not getting sugar this early. Like, no, you're not getting a popsicle for breakfast. Why? I want a popsicle. I want it. It's not a very good nutritious thing to have in the morning, bunny. Mm-hmm. So at least I'm saying things. I know probably some of it's going in one ear and out the other. He doesn't understand.
Yeah.
But I'd much rather at least explain to him multiple times, hey, this is why we're not doing it, and not just get upset at the behavior.
Yes.
And that's really a matter of also me staying like stable and emotionally sound as best as I can in those moments.
Totally.
You know, last night it was also, he's also in a very highly emotional state. He's just at that age.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. He wanted to go swim in the pool before dinner. So he got a little playtime right when our neighbor Ellie got home. Outside, hot. He was probably already hungry, needed dinner, but we let him play. Then he comes in. He's very emotional about dinner, wants to go in the pool. And, you know, trying to explain to him as many times as possible, like, you need to have food. Also, you're not going to get to go in the pool if you hit dad. Like, that's not okay. So I'm trying to do my best to also maintain that steady balance of just explaining to him why things aren't okay. And if I had to explain to him 5 times and I don't know if he got it or not, I'd rather just assume that something in there landed as to where when he hits 8, 9, 10 years old, we'll be able to explain these things out easier with him. He'll understand. He'll be willing to share with us. He'll explain what his thoughts are. That's just all I want, is some like shared thoughtfulness between the two of us.
Yeah. I have had micro versions of that. So the same nephew I'm talking about, he has a younger brother, and every year we go and babysit them for like 2 to 3 weeks while their parents go on a hunting trip. And the sugar thing is a daily battle because their sugar is not super monitored at home. Mm-hmm. But when Uncle Faiez and Aunt Heather are in town, their diet changes completely. we go into their rooms with a pillow sack. All right,
I love it. I
give
love
us the
it.
candy.
Yeah, I love it.
And every morning with the youngest one, and like when we first started, he was like 4 years old going to school. Now he's maybe 8. Now they know the drill, but it's every morning. Can I take this for my snack? He'll try to get one over on us
Course.
every fucking day. Every day
I
it's the
know.
same drill. It's like, no, Cohen, you can't.
Yeah.
Look in the back. Does it say sugar? He's like, yeah. I'm like, are you taking sugar to school? He's like, no. But he'll come back to school. What's the first snack he wants? Fucking sugar. Oh, we gotta run this. We gotta run this back. And so it's just like,
I've been debating when Casey and I have talked about this. I've been debating on when can I say to Atlas, sugar will make you fat and kill you.
and it'll make you a psycho while you're alive.
Yeah.
Dude, the amount of sugar, it's crazy to watch it hit these little kids' bodies. They turn into fucking psychos.
Yeah. Psychos. Literally. The first time Atlas had too much was just from an orange juice that somebody had that was
I bet.
a fake one or whatever. We were there and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever, have it. Meltdown city when we got home.
I
And
bet.
Casey was like, that was that sugar. In that
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's amazing
Which is mind blowing to me to then see other parents still give their kids like juice boxes that have like 30 grams of sugar in them.
but I bet you if you told those parents, they'd be like, but it's juice.
Yeah.
It's orange juice. Isn't that healthy?
No.
Like this is what happens with my sister-in-law. Heather will go through the whole fridge like, Candace, why do you have this? You're giving this to the kids? And she's like, but it has a fruit on the box. Like, isn't it healthy? And we're like, no, look at like the first ingredient on this. It's sugar.
Yeah.
And the thing is Cohen is really hyperactive at school. Dude, it broke my heart. Last year, he had fucking Adderall on the cabinet. Like he was supposed to take half a pill or whatever, before school every day. And I had to talk to her. I was like, believe me, this is not it. As somebody that got diagnosed with this stuff in his late teens, like we don't want to be giving this to him this early on just because he's a little bit hyper in class. Like,
And he's probably hyper in class from the sugar that
from the
you gave
sugar.
him.
Exactly. I was like, so you're going to be gone for 3 weeks. We're going to be really strict with him on the no sugar. Let's see if anything changes. And his behavior does change. A lot of his stuff does change.
Yeah.
So anyways,
We took a side tangent.
we took a side tangent, but all just coming back to like, okay, communicating in a marriage is one thing. Communicating with employees is one thing. Communicating with your kids is a whole different fucking ball game. But I feel like the principles are all the same.
Yeah, they are.
It's like focusing on your side of the street, taking ownership for your own actions. Ultimately, the only thing that you can do is control how you show up.
Right.
Right. And then almost always it impacts how other people show up. Right.
And always look to create a connection with the other person, not separation.
Right.
Connection is heart, separation is ego.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
We could probably end on that.
I think that was a good note.
Yeah.
All right.
Started out with stress, ended with connection.
Well, that's what we talk about. We're a couple of dudes talking about our feelings. We feel them. How do we work through them? And how do we try to show up as good as we can? So
Yeah.
I think we're doing pretty good.
Don't forget about that like and subscribe button. Hit us with any comments. Let us know what you want to chat about.
We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.